capsule to the area.
Hey guys, XH here.
Activating it will buy you more time.
Lavos Prime is one of the strongest warframes for Steel Path. His tanky stat line, ability to inflict many statuses and adapt to any weaknesses, and powerful augments make him one of the best scaling nukers to the game. In this video, I'll be teaching you how to build and play Lavos Prime like a pro. As a special bonus, because Lavos is one of my personal favorites, I'm making this video even longer by including builds for my entire Lavos kit. That means weapon options for every slot, explanations of how they synergize uniquely with his skill set, as well as companion options. If you find this video helpful, leaving a like and subscribing helps me stay motivated pumping out endgame guides for you guys. Thanks. Alright, first off, let's talk about his abilities. So, he actually has two passives. One is active and one is passive. So the passive is that when Lavos grabs an energy orb, instead of getting energy because he has an energy pool, he will get 10 seconds of immunity to all statuses. And the active passive, which I will show you now, is that he can imbue extra elements onto the default elements of his abilities. So his first ability is Ophidian Bite, and it's actually not a very good ability by itself. So the point of this ability by default is that it sucks enemy health, gives them a toxin proc, and heals you. However, this ability is greatly enhanced by the augment Swift Bite, which turns it from just a heal into something that actually reduces your cooldowns. So this is very valuable when you're cycling through abilities to increase your casts per minute. His second ability is Viral Rush. This thing is basically like a dash forward and you throw a bunch of ice vials behind you, and then like this will freeze enemies. It's good for basically inflicting cold status as well as extra stats of your choice. However, for this particular build, we're using an Archon that benefits from the cold procs. So that's an extra synergy that you should take advantage of, because this Archon offers a huge boost to duration and strength, which is very valuable. And most frames have a hard time proccing like the cold status to make use of that, but Lavos definitely takes advantage of that. So make sure you use that Archon, which I will show you in just a sec. His third ability is the Transmutation Probe, and this is something you cast after you cast his other abilities to reduce the cooldown. And for each enemy we hit with this build, we will reduce almost 2 seconds off the cooldown. So basically, if we cast our ultimate ability and then we cast the probe ability, we will be able to reset the cooldown fully if we hit like 15 enemies. And now for his ultimate ability, this thing is his damage dealer. It's like a radial nuke, and the more elements the enemies have on them, the more damage they will take. It's multiplicative, so you definitely want to apply elements before casting. If you just cast it by itself naked, then it does like no damage at all. So yeah, no elements, no damage. That's how Lavos works. However, if you hold the elements before you cast, you can like add viral onto his abilities, and let me spawn some mobs to show you. So as you can see, I'm gonna cast a second skill, and this inflicts cold by default, and then his third skill inflicts electric by default. But let's add some custom statuses. So this is viral. Now we're going to press his ultimate, which inflicts heat. But you can see, in addition to just inflicting heat, we also inflicted viral stacks, and that's our custom element we added on top. Now let's add more viral stacks with his first ability. Let's change it up and add some blast stacks. So you can apply pretty much any status you want, as long as you remember the way to combine it. Alright, now let's look at the actual warframe build. So For Lavos, I actually went with a mecha set build, and the reason for this is the companion marks targets, and then when you kill them, it applies their status effects to all enemies within 30 meters. So with Lavos, you're going to be applying a ton of statuses anyways, and this is like basically a way to nuke even harder. If you don't want to use this, then you can obviously substitute it out, but I find that in normal gameplay, especially if you are playing solo, this is invaluable. And I'll explain the other mods. So Archon Vitality, we use it for extra health, but the main point is that it actually makes our ultimate ability deal more damage by doubling the heat. You don't absolutely need this because you can also just rely on your Cedo to proc corrosive or like other sources, but I don't see why you wouldn't put it because this is just a straight upgrade to the default Prime continuity, albeit with more drain. So if you're tight on drain, you can use normal continuity. Now we have stretch to add a bit of range to our abilities so they can hit enemies farther away. This increases the cooldown reduction on our third ability and first ability, so it's nice to have so we can cast more frequently. If we didn't have this, we would need to hit more enemies to get the same cooldown reduction. And then this is used for the mecha set bonus as well as extra armor to help you be tanky. These two augments. So this augment enables a unique playstyle with Lavos. You can use this to proc electricity with a melee weapon and enable melee influence with any element. So you could do illegal builds like melee influence with heat and then electricity, and you'll be able to stack heat procs on enemies. Normally you cannot do that because like you can't ever stack heat and electricity on your warframe weapons. However, the way Lavos works is that the element he adds, like electricity, doesn't actually combine with the heat, so you can proc both of them, even though normally they would mix up to become radiation. And then we have the Swift Fire augment. I mentioned this earlier. You have to hit 4 enemies and you'll get the cooldown reduction. So you can cycle between these two, and they work to reduce each other's cooldown in like a feedback loop. So you'll cast one, reduce cooldown on this, cast this, and this goes off cooldown again. And as for the arcanes, we have the Ice Storm. This works when you freeze stuff with your second ability. This is just nice to have, more strength, more damage. And now for this, you might think it's kind of weird, but this will make sense later if you are using my full loadout. Alright, now for the Archon shards. We're going to put 1 casting speed shard on Lavos. And you can put more if you want, but you need at least 1 because by default his abilities cast very slowly. However, for this build, I'm going to use just 1 and then combine it with the casting speed from the modernized skill tree, which is an additional 50%. And that's going to be enough. And now for the rest of the shards, we're going to put 1 Emerald Archon shard as a +2 corrosive. And this will let us strip pretty much 98% of the armor of the enemies with our Cedo as well as our abilities, stacking corrosive stacks. And for the other 3, we're going to put ability damage. And this will let us strip the majority of the armor while also amping our damage from our ultimate ability. Alright, now let's look at the Cedo build. I don't know what it's going on here, but so we're stacking a bunch of elements and status chance. You see we have corrosive and then magnetic and then radiation. And then the Cedo by itself, when you explode the radio attack, it can proc all the base elements. That's why we're not wanting for those. I'm putting all the hybrid elements. So when we explode the secondary fire, we will proc corrosive, radiation, magnetic, heat, cold, electric, and toxin. And that's all elements for our ultimate ability, catalyze, to scale off of. And also helps armor strip with our +3 corrosive stacks max shard. And multi-shot is good. This is in case you want to use the primary fire to like actually kill stuff. And this Arcane is really good. So this adds more status chance to the already massive status chance we have on the Cedo Prime. So you'll be dealing even more status procs per explosion. And the efficiency on the ammo is also good if you want to use the primary fire. So let's take a look on some real enemies. How you use this is you walk to the enemy crowd, you press the alt fire, goes boom, they take status procs. If you want to proc the primary crux, you can... I don't know why it's not procking. Okay, I'm gonna trust that's a visual bug because nothing is showing up. Although obviously I should be procking the status immunity. But anyways, so pretending that you can see the icon for the primary crux proc. So you hit their weak point, like the head or maybe other body parts for other factions. You just hit it and then you get a stacking efficiency for the primary fire, which means you can shoot more bullets per magazine. And this also works on the status chance of the secondary alt fire. So as long as we keep the headshotting them, we can like alt fire in between to like proc 300% more status effects. And then this translates into more damage for our ultimate ability. And then you can see the mecha set nuking everything. We killed our marked enemy that spread all the Cedo procs and also the heat procs from our catalyze. So just death everywhere. Alright, so Cedo is very good. I don't think you want to use other primaries for Lavos. It's like meant for him. No other primary can spread as many procs. Now, for the secondary slot, it's kind of competitive. You could use Epitaph for if you want to proc different elements. Let's say you want to proc viral. I use my Epitaph normal as viral. Here's the build. And with secondary encumber, just for some extra statuses. And I use Epitaph Prime as my corrosive primer. However, we already have it on our Cedo, so I'd really advise you to... You can use this build, but you want to swap the element out for viral. I mean, I swapped the wrong one out. Yes, this one. Okay, so you want to get viral on your secondary primer and then corrosive on your primary primer. But actually, you could also use the Grimoire, and what this does is you can choose a stat to boost. You can boost efficiency to be able to like reduce your cooldowns faster, or you can boost the duration, which also boosts the status effect duration, or the strength if you want to nuke even harder. It's up to you. And I put Fortifier here for some extra overguard while the bouncy alt fireball is going through the enemies. Now, this is the part where you'll be like, oh, that's why I used the thing in the Exilus slot. So they dropped the dual Zoren with a unique trait, airborne melee slide attacks, boost your movement speed. And it's like a reference to an old playstyle called Zoren Coptering. And we're gonna be making a melee influence build with this. But you'll also notice that it's useful for not only the like actual killing, but like movement tech. Anyways, like I mentioned, normally you need electricity on your weapon to get the proc for the melee influence, but instead we're making an illegal heat AoE melee influence with magnetic procs for overguard. But let me show you the actual like movement tech with the dual Zoren. Okay, so let me show you first with another weapon. We're gonna use these fans. Okay, so we jump, and then like if you aerial attack, there's no like real movement forward. It's just a normal slide like this, like, just a slide. But then when we use the dual Zoren, it's different. It's like on the ground it's still the same, but now if we go in the air, you see we fly forward like way further than we would normally. And you can just use this to basically do a unique movement tech, flying forward. You can also cast abilities, although that will take you out of your flight, depending on the ability you cast. Yeah, you don't have to use this with Lavos. It's not like a signature part of this kit like the Cedo, but it's definitely cool and fun. Now, if you want to maximize the damage possible, we still have to go back to the Archon weapons. And the DPS melee I would recommend is actually the Hate. And this is another instance where we're abusing the melee influence without electricity. So what we do is we proc the electricity with his Valence formation, electric, and then we have Hate with the heat, and then this augment actually boosts status damage. So then after we spread all these procs around, the enemies will take increased status damage from heat on the Hate, electricity from your Valence formation, and also catalyze on your ability. So this is like the ultimate damage source for like an ultimate damage amp for Lavos. And I'll show you how to use this. So we're gonna infuse electricity, and then we proc it. The icon not showing up, but you can see it's working. And then everything just dies. We did not even cast our ultimate ability. Now let's do it again. We're gonna just proc, and then we're going to catalyze. And you can see, with the increased status damage, even though we only had 2 statuses, electricity and heat, we still exploded all of those heavy units, like, easily. So, the extra status damage, definitely very powerful. Okay, well everything just died, even without casting Catalyze. So yeah, with this build, damage is no issue. And then last thing I want to point out is the companion selection. So with the Hiras Kubro, you can like play this with mainly focusing on casting, and then enemies won't hit you because the Kubro makes you invisible. However, you will not be able to stay invisible while using your weapons, so if you want to focus on Lavos caster, you can play with the Hiras Kubro, and then just use your weapons occasionally for stuff like the Acolyte. But if you want to play like a more hybrid Lavos, using your weapons a lot, then the invisibility won't work. In that case, you would want to use the Panzer Wolfophyla. And this lets you like have a free revive when you get downed, and also spread battle around. Let me show you the builds first. First, the Hiras Kubro build. It's pretty self-explanatory. Let me show you the claws. I don't know why that's glitching. Just pretend you don't see that. And then you need to put overdrive here for the boost to the mecha set bonus. So we have the bond mods again, but we have this for the increased fire rate as well. This thing that revives you when you get downed. Alright, I think that's it for the explanations. Now let's... Alright guys, we're in a solo conjunction survival in Steel Path, and I'll show you the real performance of this Lavos Prime nuclear build.
Sentry is attempting to purge you from this place. Stand by for life support.
Here, Cedo got stolen.
You found a fissure. Look out for
Got it back.
reactants.
Now as you can see, I'm priming them with my Cedo Altfire, and I'm freezing them to generate stacks on the Arcane Ice Storm. I'm ramping up the primary crux, And we're able
reactant.
to fire off a
Use
lot
it
of
to
rounds without
open the
reloading
relic.
because of the extra
Don't
efficiency.
forget the reactant.
You can see the
We need
Panzer
more
started
to open
spreading
that relic.
its viral. And now we're going to catalyze and nuke everything. And we also activated our melee influence with the advanced formation armament. So if we want to, we can just go around and slap them with the hate melee, and they will just die.
That's it. You opened the relic. Finish your mission and we'll take a
You
look
can also use the
inside.
projectile if you don't want to get in close. Just hit them from far away with the projectile. Influence spreads it. Oops. Okay. And then let me show you infusing. We're gonna infuse blast onto the third ability and magnetic. For extra damage to overguard, we're gonna double up with the heat on the catalyze. You can see stuff just dying. However, this alchemist is a little tanky. We're gonna have to use the Cedo alt fire on him. And actually, with all the side effects, it's hard for enemies to like actually hit us because they're panicking due to the heat. They're confused due to the radiation. So we're not actually taking that much damage from them, even though it's the high level steel path mission, because most of them can attack. So we cast our second ability first, and then we cast our fourth ability to nuke.
Use that reactant.
After that, we will cast our first
The
ability,
reactant is
as well as the third
working on the
ability,
relic. Find more.
to reduce the cooldowns, which makes our first ability off cooldown again, and cast it again. So it goes Cedo, second ability, fourth ability,
Tenno, prepare for life
and then
support.
first ability, third ability, first ability again, and then repeat like that.
The relic has been cracked.
So pretty much our entire playstyle is just spreading elements with our weapons, the pet, our abilities, and then cast and catalyze, and stuff just dies. Alright, now let's take a closer look at the melee playstyle of Lavos. If you want to play Lavos without actually playing Lavos. So we're going to get up our combo count, activate Incarnon,
To open your relic.
and then we're going to proc our
Corrupted enemies will drop.
electric
Don't forget
from the
reactant.
augment.
You need more to open that
Now we'll
relic.
just run around whacking stuff with the melee. See, everything's just... Oop, I died too. Unlucky shot from the Eximus. But we can revive ourselves with the power of the viral, as well as our operator's voice strength. Okay, we're going to need to
You have
conquer
collected
electric
enough
again.
reactant to open the relic. Get ready for a capsule.
In case you do want to cast, what you
I've
can do
delivered a life
is...
support capsule to the area. Activating it will buy you more time.
So basically, I use the hate to proc the burning hate element and make them take more status damage, and then I proc the heat proc from catalyze.